So, Jess, my top 3 tips that I give all my clients that want to slow down that aging process are wearing sunscreen, using retinol,
Yep.
and getting some injectables at some point.
Yes, I love it.
These are the top 3 things that you can do for your skin that actually help the process.
Hi, welcome back to Glow Talks with Jess. I am so excited today to bring you yet another episode with a very special guest and friend of mine, also aesthetic guru, Michelle German.
Hello.
Thank you for being here.
Of course.
Physician assistant and aesthetic director at Capital Aesthetics and Laser Center here in Washington, D.C. Thank you so much for letting us be here and filming with you today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
I'm thrilled. I love working with you. We've been working for a couple of years together now. And gosh, every time we get together, we just really have all these inspirational chats.
Yes.
So I thought my viewers would love to join in.
Yes, I am so happy to be here. You hit it on the head because I feel like we always have the best chats whenever we're together. And I love when my clients come in and they leave out feeling inspired and just uplifted. And I feel like we do that for each other.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited.
Well, and you've been helping to support me through some of my more media face forward, I guess you could say.
Yes, I know.
And the ballroom dancing and kind of the prep in between of my performances. So it's really just been such a blessing and a pleasure working with you over the years.
Yes, thank you. Same. For sure.
Awesome.
Yes.
Well, so let's get started. I wanted to first kind of touch on, and which we've discussed more at length, how we can use aesthetics in a holistic way to promote self-worth, self-confidence, and being comfortable in our own skin.
Yes. That is a major thing for me, honestly. Like, I have been working in aesthetics for almost 10 years now. So I have seen the growth in the industry. And sometimes there is a little bit of a stigma on it. And people can get a little bit in their heads about what aesthetic treatments look like and what I think that they see the horror stories behind it, but being in the industry and knowing where I come from and my motives and everything, I feel that it is just a part of a bigger picture, It is an overall wellness and holistic viewpoint that I feel about like life, wherein it's, we're dealing with the spiritual, we're dealing with the physical, we're dealing with the emotional. And I think that aesthetics plays a part in all of that because ultimately when you look good, you feel good. And that's when you're giving people like your best output, you know?
Absolutely.
So I feel like aesthetics definitely plays a huge role in it. There's just a little bit of a stigma that has been attached to it that I try to sort of break down at every chance that I get.
Yeah. Well, and it's hard, right? Because we see mainstream social media and superstars that are out there and, sometimes it's like a little bit too much.
Yes.
So it's easy to look from the outside and not really understand what's going on there from within. So, there are some boundaries that I personally have felt over the years that were kind of put there for a good reason.
Absolutely.
Right? I just want to enhance, let's say, my natural features. And as I'm aging, which we all do, we can support ourselves through the process to find like preventative measures 1,000%. And to slow down that aging process.
Yeah, I cannot agree with you more, honestly. There's so many modalities. Like I will see a client for a consultation and I always like for them to know that there's just more ways to actually getting you to your goal. Like there's a host of modalities. And I remember getting into the industry years and years ago, my mind was blown at the amount of things that we can do for ourselves, So you have skincare, and that's like at your basic level of things, and just making sure that you are consistent with your skincare, making sure that there's like a sunscreen on board. There's an antioxidant. Like all of these things sort of help to prevent aging in a way because the sun ages us, environmental stress can age us. So these are just things that you can pick up from, your local drugstore that are going to help you with your aging process
Along the way.
Along the way, of course. And then there's also things that we can do in the office also, there are just like sort of maintenance facials that you can do that are going to stimulate collagen. Lasers are amazing for collagen stimulation. Like if I had one sort of treatment to do for the rest of my life, I think it would be some sort of laser or microneedling, because it's it's a direct way to stimulate that collagen production.
Impactful.
Very impactful. And as we age, we are losing that collagen and elastin, and it's something that we cannot prevent. So any way that we can build it, I'm all for.
And I mean, that's like surface, right? Like
Very
we
much
can
so.
also supplement. And I do find that part of the aging process can be supported by using proper nutrients and understanding malabsorption even in your own body. And there are some key signs, I think, that your body can whisper to you. So I love doing the treatments. I love doing the skincare, but it is a multifaceted, like layered approach. Right? So moving on to some items that you had mentioned as far as services. We have the maintenance services.
Of course.
But then there's the lasers that perhaps can have like a more heavy hitter impact on the skin. Like how would you then layer that in? And timing wise, like what could we expect by doing some of these?
Procedures? Like you said, there are some maintenance things. And I actually think that lasers are a lot of maintenance also, honestly, because your laser treatment you're going to want to get every 4 to 6 weeks. Okay. So, whatever your sort of routine is, every 4 to 6 weeks, you should be trying to get in for a laser treatment until we get you to your goal.
Or you mentioned the microneedling.
Exactly. Same with microneedling, because they're both stimulating that collagen production. So you can use those services along with things like injectables to help you to get to your goal. And I think that when you are pulling from both areas and just kind of making sure that you do have your nutrition together and you are taking care of your body, you are eating the right things, you are
drinking
staying
water.
hydrated. Exactly.
Hydration is literally everything.
Hydration is key, and we are all so dehydrated,
I know.
So I think that when you layer the things, yes, you do have to space things out. But lasers can be a nice maintenance for it, and you're going to be doing a laser or microneedling every 4 to 6 weeks, and then you'll be getting some of your injectables done and spacing that out even further.
I loved the fact that we could look at this as kind of a holistic plan, even throughout the year, right? Because I do a lot of events and where I have to be in front of the camera. I don't want to necessarily do some of these procedures like right before a big comp or before I have to do a podcast taping. Right? There's some timing involved.
1000%.
And I also, really, really love that we can add in the injectables, going back to that. And this is where the stigma, I think, with how people view it from the outside, it can become like, oh, should I do that? Or I get nervous. And I have a lot of friends and people that I know who are like, oh, you do injectables? I'm like, yeah, but I'm not overdoing it. I'm doing it to help like prevent, for instance, the wrinkles forming if I have a lot of lines and movement in my muscles on my forehead. And it doesn't mean that I have to be, still faced and frozen. Right?
You won't be pillow face. You won't there are definitely ways to do these procedures where you look very much so like yourself, natural and refreshed, just a natural just a way of making yourself feel like, wow, like I feel like I've gotten so much rest. Or I've been on a fabulous vacation.
Well, and like pairing some of that, for instance, Botox or, other products that minimize the muscle movement with the skin care. I've noticed that it really helps to reduce the fine lines and wrinkles over time. And I have had correction from wrinkles that were forming, using these two, modalities like kind of together.
This is the key to doing it, honestly. Like Botox in general, and Botox is a brand, right? So we're saying Botox, but we know that is a brand and there are different types. But that sort of group and class of medication literally works by softening or paralyzing your muscles. So when you think about like your muscle movement, I have some fresh tops. I probably won't be able to do much, but if I make a mean face, you're not really seeing those 11s there. If I raise my eyebrows, you're not seeing those horizontal lines. across my forehead. And that is because I have used a little bit of Tox to help to soften that. And there's
Right.
such a preventative way in which it works, because if you think about your facial muscles the same way that you think about your muscles all over your body, right?
Right.
If you go to the gym every single day and you're doing curls literally every single day, this bicep is going to be
Yeah,
huge,
it's gonna
right?
grow.
The same thing happens with your facial muscles when you are making the same faces, which we do
Yeah, they call
from
that the mom
childhood.
scowl,
Exactly. Sometimes when you wear glasses, it's the same thing. You know, like you have that
where you're like
squint.
squinting.
Or
Yeah.
sometimes if you have hooded eyes and you're like always raising your brows, there's so many like reasons as to why you make the faces, but you're probably making them unconsciously, you
Right.
know,
Right,
and
right, right.
that is just making that muscle stronger with time. So when
Got
you
it.
do a little bit of Tox, it weakens those muscles over time, which helps to soften the lines. And the more you do it, the less lines you have.
Right. Well, and honestly, everyone's face is different. So, let's talk a little bit about, for instance, like as we age, and what I find too is around the mouth area and, kind of this midsection
Yep.
of the face.
Sure.
I do find that having a little lift of that area, because over time, again, the muscle is coming down.
The
It's
muscles are
not,
strong.
yeah.
And you're using them your entire life, hopefully, you know. You're using those muscles, so it's nice to really give them a break. And when you know and you have studied the actual muscles of the face, then you really can manipulate with the product to sort of get you your outcome, you
Right,
know?
right, right.
So we know I love doing talks for the lower face. Like
Yep.
this area for me is just chef's kiss, because there is a muscle that gets stronger as we age, and it pulls the corners of the mouth down. Nobody wants to have a sad face,
No,
like
we need
walking
to be
around with a
smiling.
sad, you know, right? So we do a little Tox there, and it gives you just a nice lift.
Yeah.
Again, just something very small, but that's going to have large impact.
Yeah. And I love that. I mean, look,
Same.
I think at the end of the day, we all want to be able to look in the mirror and like what we see. And it's not really about anyone else at that point. I mean,
Yes.
I had my own personal experience, more so in this case with body image when I finished breastfeeding my 3 kids.
Yeah.
And I remember I went to the gym, I did everything right. I took all the vitamins, I was working out, like I lost the weight from the baby. My hormones were kind of back in order, but I was left with my breasts being not how they came.
You had 3 kids.
Yeah,
Yeah,
3
your
kids.
body changes.
Expanding,
Sure.
contracting,
Absolutely.
and the skin just wasn't like gonna come
not the
back. It's
same.
just not gonna come back.
not the
So
same, that laxity.
despite even Rudy, and he was like,
Yeah.
bless his heart,
Yeah.
you don't need to do this, and it's not anything. But I will tell you, Michelle, like every time I looked in the mirror and I looked at myself, I really hated myself.
Oh my goodness.
It was such
That's
a
not a good
waste
feeling.
of energy, as I found. I mean, this was years
Yeah,
ago that I
sure,
made the decision to
sure.
do it. But part of this was like me coming out of a dark period
Mm-hmm.
and doing everything I could to support myself, my body.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I just still looked at it and was like, no, like that's not what I envision for the rest of my life. So, hey, we could do something about it.
You can do
right?
something about it. Absolutely.
And I will tell you, as much as it was that was a challenging procedure, and the healing time wasn't definitely nothing like your face, but
Exactly.
the concept is the same. I felt like what it did for me was to help my inside now feel better
Yeah.
and match what I envisioned on the outside. And I do feel like over time, my self-confidence grew, my self-worth, thinking I was beautiful, and I could approach my day.
Yes.
I could approach my relationships. I could approach, just decision making even
Yeah.
from a totally different perspective within.
Yes.
That I felt good.
Yes.
I knew that I was in balance. I didn't go over the top. And I know there's a lot of women that, they think, oh, boob job, and then it's like Dolly Parton. Like, no.
I love Dolly, but no.
I love her too, but I think her boobs are natural, actually.
I'm like,
I don't know. But no, I mean,
bad.
that wasn't the idea. I just
Exactly.
wanted to go back to like what I was originally given before I
Yes.
had 3 kids and
Exactly.
and breastfed
And
them.
went through those body changes for sure.
Yeah.
I think you hit it on the head for me, because I feel the same way. I'm like, whenever you are signing up to do any of these aesthetic procedures, it has to be for yourself,
Yes.
right? Like, you cannot think that you are going in to fix something or to enhance something on yourself trying to get a reaction from someone else, right? It has
Exactly.
to be for yourself.
Yep.
Because in my world, like surgery is surgery, but in my world, I am doing non-surgical procedures.
Right.
So your downtime is even more. The contrast isn't that vast,
Right.
especially just because of the aesthetic also, but the ultimate goal is always for you to sort of feel better. Like, yes, we're
Right.
making little tweaks, but it's about what it is stirring on the inside of you. And
Yes.
are you a little bit more confident because
Right.
now you don't have those 11s and you don't feel like you look mean, or if
Right.
you feel like you have under eye bags and you
I mean,
always look
I've had some
tired.
women being like, where constantly someone's asking them like, "What's wrong? What's wrong?" Because they're just
Exactly.
constantly like this,
Exactly. And it's
right?
like nothing is wrong. Nothing is
Yes.
wrong. I just make this face a lot and these muscles are strong, right?
Yeah.
But I have people, I feel like post pandemic, because everyone was looking at themselves
Right.
on the laptop, everybody came in saying, like, I didn't notice this. I see this. And it's because of them looking at themselves in the meetings and
Yeah.
whatnot. But literally, like, you can see what others see, and if you don't want those 11s because you're not an angry person, why would you like sit through life and go
Right.
through life having someone ask you what's wrong when you're like, I'm
I'm
happy, there is
actually
nothing
fine.
wrong. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think just definitely coming
Yes,
full circle and looking at this as a holistic way
absolutely.
to create confidence and new energy within yourself. I
Yes.
mean, we talk about it all the time. Energy is the new currency.
Yes.
It's everything.
Yes.
And if
Yes.
you're not
Yes.
approaching life with like this, you know, God confidence,
Yeah, I like that. God confidence, because that is the ultimate
yeah.
confidence,
And guess
right?
what? Like, God does not want us to be feeling the way I
No.
was feeling about myself. I know
Exactly.
that. I
Exactly.
know that to be true.
Exactly.
And in any way, shape, and form, I can help others to reach that same kind of vibrational frequency,
Yes.
loving themselves, knowing that God wants them to feel good, wants them to
Absolutely.
exude the beauty
Yes.
that He gives us
Yes, he
inside.
is beauty. Like, yes,
Exactly.
yeah,
So
of
there's
course.
absolutely, I feel, nothing wrong with that.
Yes, I totally agree. I preach this day to day.
Yep.
And I think that I love that we're doing this and having this conversation so that other people can hear about it also, because I know I have done fillers and talks. I've been doing it for almost 10 years now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not afraid to say it. I remember I had a boyfriend that was like, "You don't do these things, do you?" And I'm like, "I absolutely do. This is
Yeah.
like my world."
Yeah.
But it's little tweaks. And I think that I am so blessed to be able to also bring that feeling and the energy of feeling beautiful
Yeah.
to someone else, because it's
Yeah.
like little things can make the world of difference.
Well, a huge impact, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's, look, I've got 3 kids and my story. I feel like over time, being the mom prior to looking at my beauty and all of that stuff, like I didn't even feel like I was worthy of spending the money on myself to
Yeah.
do it, which is absolutely not the
Mom
case.
guilt, man. It's a thing.
It's a real thing.
It is a thing, yes.
So, I started small. I was introduced actually at a different facility to injectables
Yep.
when I was working at the integrative space.
Yes.
And I went slow, but
Perfect.
surely as time passed
Yes.
and I could see the difference and I could
Yes.
see some of my like fine lines and wrinkles going away.
Yes.
I was like, wow, this actually like makes such a difference. And then I wasn't afraid to do, for instance, I had done like an online training course where I had to take a lot of video and I would see myself in the camera and I'm like, okay, like I'm more comfortable. I can be more
There you go.
bubbly. I can get the message across,
Yes.
right? Energetically.
Yes.
Instead of sitting in,
Right.
you know?
Or without worrying about it in the back
Yes.
of your mind, you know? Like,
Well, worry is literally such a drain of energy.
yes, it is. Yes,
It
it
is
is.
not going to do us any favors at all.
Totally agree.
And low self-worth, low self-esteem.
I know.
Those aren't doing us any favors.
No.
God wants us to be out in the world and helping to create love, inspiration, and
Yes,
beauty
1,000%.
all around us.
Yes, we're
you
supposed
know?
to be uplifting each other.
Yep.
And, those sort of like low vibrational things definitely, like, you said it earlier, wherein like the currency is energy, right?
Yep.
And when I think about like in energy, how we're exchanging, it's all like vibrational.
Yeah.
So if you are someone that self-loathes, or like you're not, like you're getting down on yourself, I know sometimes it can be hard, but you just have to like speak positive things,
Yeah.
because like this is what is going to bring your vibration up and make you feel better about yourself. And
Yeah.
like it's always, we talk about things being holistic. So, sometimes it really is just sitting with yourself and writing affirmations and
Yeah.
reassuring yourself that you
Yeah.
are amazing and you are love and you are beautiful and you are spreading these things.
Yeah.
And it really will transfer throughout your like entire like
and you had
world.
mentioned prior to our starting the filming that whatever you're putting out energetically, guess
Get
what?
right back.
That's what we're attracting back.
Absolutely.
And
Every
and
single
this
time.
reflects in our relationships, our with our spouses, our kids, our family members,
Yes.
even in business and professionally.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
You need to, as let's say a provider, service provider, feel comfortable and worthy enough in your own skin so that you can actually charge the proper amount for the services you're providing.
Yes.
I see a lot of business owners
Yeah.
shortchanging themselves, right? Because
Yeah.
they don't know their own
value.
worth or
Yeah.
value that they're really offering.
sure.
When it's way more than what we think in our minds about ourselves.
Absolutely. And even that, being an aesthetic injector, I wouldn't want to relay energy that is not positive. Like if I'm not feeling good and self-confident about myself,
Right.
how am I going to inject you and have a sort of like interaction with you and you not get some of what I have? So it has to start from within, because again, this is the energy exchange.
Yep.
If something is off with me, most times you're going to feel it. Like we are in an intimate space, we're chit-chatting, we are like catching up.
Yeah.
Like you're going to feel whatever it is that I have on me, So it's so important to make sure that within you are feeling a certain way before you even start to address the other things.
I mean, and we can even go one step further into kind of just this modern culture and the young people who are growing up and seeing all this stuff online. We
know.
weren't exposed
No,
to
we were
that.
not. We were not.
So
And
it's important that within our homes and within our families and smaller connective, webs of people, that we are able to project and give a certain confident energy where they're learning, hey, there's balance to all of this.
Yes,
it's
instill
not
the
just
confidence.
about let me get my lips done and I'm going to feel like $1 million.
Exactly.
No.
Instill the confidence without anything, because it's like you are beautiful. Your soul is beautiful. Like this is how people see you, with how you feel. Exactly how you feel is how people will see you, and you instill that. And then if you want a little enhancement,
Sure. It's important for us as practitioners, or as, let's say, like being the leader along the way for this younger crowd that's kind of up and coming. And I mean, also, let's talk about men, right?
Yes. I shout out to my men. I don't have a lot of them, but I am very I am into the guys that do come. I think my practice is probably like 85-15, but I love the men when they do come, because they just need the guidance. And they're like, tell me what to do. I will do it, because, again, we're all aging. There's no way to sort of stop that. So I think that sometimes with men, they're not thinking about the aging in the same way that we are.
Right.
And maybe not even at the same age. Like
or confidence level. I mean, maybe they don't.
That part too,
I mean, part of this is like society.
1000. But I feel like men are always so confident, and I'm sure all of that comes into play. But I do have my men that come in too, and they want to look good the same way that we do.
We all have the same skin, essentially.
Everybody
we've all got the skin to deal with.
Exactly.
No, that's great. I love that.
Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit to when we do some of these procedures and some of these different things to help supplement our skin and give us a fresh look. Let's talk about some of the recovery, what we can do maybe ahead of time. So we talked prevention.
Sure.
We talked some of these more like higher end modalities. Let's talk about how are we carrying in between.
So let's break things down into like sort of lasers, microneedling, and then injectables, right? So with lasers and microneedling, the things that you'll want to do prior to is just sort of avoid the sun, because lasers are light. So we want to make sure that your skin is nice and pure. It doesn't have any sort of damage there with recent tanning or, any sort of tanning lotion, anything like that. You want to make sure that you avoid that prior to your laser. And with laser and microneedling, there may be a little bit of downtime because
Okay.
we are actually doing something to the surface of that skin.
Right.
So depending upon what the service is, your downtime after a procedure can be anywhere from like a few hours if it's something like a lighter laser, or a few days if you're getting like a deep microneedling treatment,
Okay, right.
with and those are all like sort of superficial skin related.
Right.
With injectables, your preparation is a little bit different because we're not necessarily worried about sun exposure. We're just worried about like the health of your tissues, how hydrated
Beneath
you
the
are.
skin.
Everything is beneath the skin.
Yeah.
Correct.
So I know, like, keeping inflammation down prior to a service.
Keeping inflammation down is key, like avoiding caffeine
Okay.
and alcohol.
Right.
That will help the skin tissue.
What about any medications that thin the blood?
If you can come off of those medications, great. But if you
Okay.
can't, because sometimes it's a necessity, then we do have to work around it. But if you are on any sort of blood thinning medications, even like a daily aspirin or something like that, if you can avoid it leading up to your procedures, probably for like
Couple
maybe like a
days.
few days
Yeah.
or so, it does help because it's just going to make you bleed a little bit more.
Okay.
And the more bleeding you have, the more likely you will probably be to bruise.
Yeah,
Exactly.
so I do sometimes, as you know,
Yeah.
have the bruising.
Yes.
But I found that arnica
Arnica is great.
and even the little tablets you can take a
pellets,
couple of
yes.
days like ahead leading
Yes.
up to,
Yep.
and then the arnica gel or cream afterward.
Exactly.
That really works.
It's a staple here in the office.
Yeah.
We love it. And the pellets are, and it's all natural too. Like you can
Right.
grab it from Whole Foods.
Yep.
But it has the ingredient in it that just really helps calm down the inflammation. So it really helps to curb the swelling and the bruising that may happen with the
And I
procedure.
do notice sometimes that like I might feel a little tender.
Yes. I always tell
afterward.
people, like, you will feel something, especially after an injectable, like a dermal filler.
Okay, right.
Sometimes you might not feel the tenderness with Botox because the techniques are done a little bit differently. But for sure, with a dermal filler, you may feel the tenderness because there's product there, right?
Right.
So you may just kind of feel it when you're washing your face. You're like, like I didn't feel this before.
And the tissues are trying to adjust to
Exactly.
what has been.
There's swelling that's
put in.
happened because
Yeah.
there's needles that have gone in and traumatized the tissue. So the
Right.
swelling has to come down. There's product there. I always tell people post-procedure, expect mild swelling and some bruising. Sometimes people don't bruise.
Right.
There will always be a little bit of swelling. Usually the swelling and the bruising are gone within a few days
Yeah,
afterwards.
I've noticed
you
that.
know?
And with the help of the arnica.
Exactly.
And makeup.
Exactly. 'Cause
Makeup
sometimes-
always works.
Always works. And I don't mind makeup post procedure.
Yeah.
If you are leaving, like I would like for you to leave out with a fresh face. But if you had something to do that night, like I definitely have had,
Yeah.
people come in, I've done it myself where I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to do something tonight, but I've gotten injected that day. My little trick that I do is I give myself like a little bit of like an antibiotic ointment right on top of wherever I may have gotten the injections.
Yeah.
Just to help seal off the entry point.
Okay, got
And
it.
then I'm putting makeup on top of it.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's okay.
No, it does work.
Yeah, it
work.
does. It
And
does.
honestly, I always love walking out of here and just feeling fresh, and it adds like a youthfulness to the face, right?
Like you literally get energized.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
My
I feel
favorite thing to do is sort of under eye and mid face area because, of course, the eyes are the windows to the soul, so we're always
Yes.
looking in that area. And I think that area is also a spot where you start to see aging a little
Yeah.
bit sooner than
There's a
other
lot of
areas.
movement
It's a lot
here.
of movement. So whenever someone comes in, especially like for the first time, and they're telling me about how they're like not feeling them best selves, if I can just give them like a little bit of what I call mid-face rejuvenation, it will brighten up your whole face because it literally restores what you knew your face to be.
Or it's like losing over time.
Exactly. So it's really nice to just get in there and just lift your spirits by lifting your cheeks. Yes.
You can do it with a smile.
Exactly.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Michelle, thank you so much for your time and energy here today with me and sharing with my viewers. Thank you for having us in your beautiful office here in DC,
Yes.
the heart of the city.
Yes.
And just for your encouragement and support over the last few years. I really just couldn't be more grateful for you. Tell me, where can my viewers find you? Online?
We are everywhere. You can follow us on Instagram. Capital Aesthetic DC is my Instagram. We also have a website, capitalaestheticdc.com
Yep.
for the website.
And you can book online.
You can book online. You can give us a telephone call. Like literally all of our information is there. And you can follow us on TikTok.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
I love it. I love it.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining me. This was just such great content, and I know my viewers are going to really benefit from getting some inspo for the day.
Good. Great. I love it.
Thank you all for tuning in to another Glow Talks with Jess. I am just so happy to have you. Make sure you follow and subscribe to the YouTube channel and follow me on IG, Glow Talks with Jess. You can find me at Jess Ernst _ on Instagram. Send me a DM, send me a message if you have any questions or you want to reach out. Please feel free. I would love to hear from you. And until next time, ciao.